Welcome to the Full Minded with Alyssa Bette podcast, where my mission is to normalize the human experience. I believe there's power in authenticity and building a community immersed in it. I plan on bringing you on an in-depth and transparent journey of my life through solo episodes. I will also be interviewing a range of individuals who are willing to share their unique stories. On this podcast, we will dive into topics such as mental health, heartbreak, loss, change, trauma, self-love, and every other topic that makes up the human experience. While I do my very best to provide you insight and knowledge on these subject matters, this podcast is not a substitute for professional help. I am not a licensed therapist. I am simply a human sharing my experiences with the intent to help people feel less alone. If you are suffering, please consult with a licensed professional. Thank you so much for tuning in and enjoy the episode. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode. Today I am recording live from my hotel bed in Kuta, Bali. And there has been so much that has happened since the last recording, since the last episode that I've dropped. It has been quite a journey. I'm like laughing and crying at the same time because it's been so emotional. It's been both beautiful and heartbreaking and scary and fun and exciting. And, you know, both can be true at the same time. And that's something that I really struggle with. I'm like, if I'm on vacation or if I'm on a trip, it has to be good. It can't be bad too. Do you know what I mean? When you're on vacation, you just want to have fun and you want it to be all good. But the truth is life doesn't stop lifing because you're on vacation. And, you know, if you suffer from mental health and just honestly, just having mental health in general, even if you don't have mental illnesses, like life isn't perfect. And I feel like sometimes when you're on vacation, especially if you're solo traveling, it can almost magnify the things that need attention and that need work. And that's exactly what this trip has done to me so far. So a little bit of a backstory. Before I left, I was feeling some type of way for sure. I was really struggling with my mental health and I just felt very isolated, very lonely. A lot of change was happening. I actually dropped an episode, Transitioning Times. If you haven't listened to that one, I would urge you to pause this one and listen to that one first. It's a short one. I think it's only like 30 minutes. And it really explains what's been going on in my life up until this point. And it'll kind of give you more of a backstory as to what I've been going through. And it will make more sense. This episode will make more sense if you listen to that first. I do feel like it's just been such a deep transitional time for me. And I've been losing friends and gaining new ones and, you know, letting go of relationships with family members that are toxic and prioritizing myself. But in doing so, you know, when you've been raised in an abusive household, you've been told that the abuser's emotions are more important than yours. And you become hypervigilant to that. So to disconnect from that is very hard on the victim because you feel like you're neglecting your abuser. It's a very strange, complicated, deeply painful experience. And if you're going through it or if you've been through it, oh my God, I'm sending you a virtual hug, the longest one. But that's been really heavy. It's opened up a lot of emotions that I have kind of kept closed and hidden and truly thought I was healed from. But I think sometimes when you're not allowing yourself to be triggered, you can kind of trick yourself into believing that you're healed. And I was just kind of avoiding it and thinking that was good for me, which I mean, in a sense it was, but confronting it face on and really dealing with, okay, well, how do I move forward from this? What do I do? What does this look like? And then deciding to go no contact. That's like, I think it's just such a hard piece of it. So I think, you know, obviously all these traumatic emotions, basically all of the trauma that like built me into this person that I am and gave me all these mental health disorders, which then in turn birthed this human being and this version of myself. And then this company, you know, my brand, the podcast, everything that came to it, you know, it's just such a, like, it's like the root of everything. being shaken, and it feels kind of like I'm free falling. It feels scary, and I don't like it. And I don't like negative emotions like most people. I prefer to be fucking happy. I prefer to feel at peace. I'd prefer to just be grooving in Bali right now, not crying in my hotel bed, just feeling so out of touch with my body and myself. But that's fucking life, and that's emotions, and that's mental health, and that's the honest piece of this. And that's why I wanted to drop an episode. I wanted to drop an episode or, a couple while I'm here and keep it real with like my little miniature microphone that I have. It's just so fucking cute. Sorry if there's background noise. It is what it is. We're working with what we got. This microphone is teeny tiny. It does not have the capabilities as my big microphone does. But I really just wanted to keep it real with you guys and say that as much fun as I am having and as much adventures as I'm going on, and I know a lot of you have commented on how brave I am. I do feel very brave after getting Bali Belly and enduring it alone. My fucking God, that was brutal. It is also really challenging, and there's also a lot of moments where I just feel deeply alone and scared and confused, and that's okay too. And that's just like the honest part about solo travel. Like, solo travel is amazing, and it is to be romanticized because it is a beautiful journey and a beautiful experience. And my last experience with it on my trip to Asia last year was absolutely one of a kind. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. I've never done anything that amazing for myself. I feel I've done beautiful things for other people, that I love, but never treated myself to something so beautiful myself. And so giving yourself something like that was just such a spectacular form of self-love and recognition. But I think one of the things that I'm struggling with, like when you don't have this type of love, this type of unconditional love, it almost feels wrong to accept it, even when it's from yourself. And I think that's a piece of it. I think there's many pieces of it, and I want to dive into each one with you guys to keep it real. But one of the pieces is it does feel hard for me to accept good love from anyone, but especially myself too. The fact that I've taken myself on this beautiful trip and that I'm able to be here is a blessing that I don't take lightly. I understand how privileged I am to be able to do this. With that being said, it is a very hard thing for me to accept that I deserve. It's still a learning process when you have to unlearn terrible, toxic traits and behaviors and the feelings of unworthiness and all of that come with, being a victim of severe abuse. One of the pieces is you don't usually feel worthy of much, if at all any. And I'm really struggling with feeling like I deserve this trip. There are moments where I'm like, girl, you've earned this. You've worked your ass off. Look at what you've built this fucking empire. You have so much to be grateful for, so much to be proud of. But I think this is a true testament to how impactful mental health is. You can have amazing things in your life. You can be blessed as fuck. You can be set financially. You can have a business. You can have all these things. But if you don't have your mental health, you cannot even begin to appreciate it. I think that's such a huge testament and such a big reminder to those who do struggle with mental health. I often like to say, you could be Oprah. You could be in Oprah's position financially and be able to, gift everyone all the things and be changing people's lives. But if you don't have your mental health, you can't even feel it. Like you just feel numb. You feel disconnected. So that's why I do what I do. And I advocate for the mental health side of things, because without it, you can't feel it. It's so strange. So there are moments where I have these glimpses of, oh, wow, yeah, you really do deserve this and you really are worthy, Liz. There are other moments where imposter syndrome just eats me alive and I just have this CEO guilt, or am I being selfish by going on another trip? Like, how dare I? Not everyone can do that. And it's just this constant battle of not feeling like I'm enough. And it's very painful, and it's very hard to navigate alone in a different country. It's hard to navigate in general with like a therapist and the people that you love surrounding you or a partner, but on your own in a foreign country, woo, she's like top 10 challenge for sure. Oh my God. But I just can't wait to see the character I'm building. Can't wait to see the results from all these challenges come into play. But yeah, that's the honest God truth. And I think too, when you own a business and you are a CEO, even though I've got a wonderful team who was like pushing me to go, they're like, you deserve it. Go have fun, be free, live your life, come back recharged, and we're going to have a great summer. It's still like you have this overwhelming guilt of taking time off when you're the boss and you're the one calling the shots and you're the one responsible for expanding the brand. You always feel guilt whenever you rest because there's always fucking something you could be doing. There's literally always something you could be doing as a business owner, and that feeling never goes away. So yes, it can be glamorous and amazing to be able to do all these things, but half the time we don't even feel like we deserve it, or we feel sick for doing it because of the way that CEO brain is designed, the way that we function, you know what I mean? Like, it's really hard to accept that we deserve to take a little break here and there, even though, you know, part of this trip is going to be working too. It's so hard to accept. And I think with solo traveling, I mean, you know, I'm speaking directly to you if you've been on it. There is such a deep sense of loneliness that can come with it, which can be a beautiful thing because there's self-discovery, self-regulation, self-soothing. Like, you learn a lot of incredible skills, but not without a lot of incredible challenges. You don't just go and meet a bunch of friends every time and have the best time of your life. Like, sometimes you just are alone. Sometimes it looks like you're afraid to leave your hotel room because you're like, what's out there? What's going to happen? Who am I going to meet? Who am I going to have to confront? Like, and it's interesting because though I am very extroverted, I actually have a lot of social anxiety, and it can be really crippling sometimes. And it's really hard to solo travel because of it. But I do it anyways, because I know that whenever you're uncomfortable in these situations, just like I know now, I'm feeling a lot of deep, dark, sad emotions. I know the payoff and the benefits from this is going to be so worth it. I know I'm going to look back in a few months or however long it takes and be like, fuck yeah, bitch. You pushed yourself. You worked through it. You were authentic about it while you were going through it. You cried it out. You sat there alone. You pushed yourself into these uncomfortable situations and you figured it out. And you just gain an immense amount of emotional intelligence, and you rebuild a connection and trust within yourself. And I think that was the most powerful part of my trip last year when I did solo travel, was I didn't trust myself for a lot of reasons. And the majority of the trust definitely stemmed from the people I allowed in my life that I thought were good. A lot of it being romantic relationships, I will say. I definitely lost a lot of trust and credit with myself because of the people I chose to date. And I'm not saying they were all bad. And I'm definitely not saying that I didn't have a part in, you know, the toxicity that was some of my relationships and why they ended. But I definitely like to believe and hope for the best in people, and sometimes to a detriment. Sometimes I'll hang on to relationships longer than they should be held on to, I admit. And that really caused me to doubt myself. I'm like, why? What is my fucking problem? Like, why can't I date people that are good for my mental health, for fuck's sakes? And even though I feel I am getting progressively better, like with each relationship, I feel like they are more my type, more what I'm looking for, and are better for my nervous system. I still feel like all the ones that weren't, I'm just like, girl, it's so crazy because all I do all day long, to everybody on social media, it's on my podcast, on my business, to my team, my staff, is I say, give yourself grace. This is going to make me cry. It's literally what I do for a living. And it is the hardest thing to do for myself. Why? What the fuck? Why is that? Like, I would never let my little siblings talk to themselves the way I talk to myself. I would never let them doubt themselves the way that I doubt myself. I would never let anyone I love speak to themselves the way I speak to me. I'd be the first person to be like, Go stand in the mirror and say things you're grateful for. Go say affirmations. Go remind yourself that you're a bad bitch. No. But for myself, I think you get used to being talked down to, and then praising yourself just feels weird. Oh man, it's such an emotional journey. I'm so emotional today, and that's okay. And I had this moment the other night. Oh my God. It was like the first night I was in Bali and I was alone. I had not met anyone yet. And I was about to go out for dinner. And I was like, do I fucking go? Like, I was so scared. It was wild. I was like frozen in fear. I didn't leave my hotel room for a bit. And I was like, girl, what is going on? And I looked in the mirror and I connected with myself because I was like, what? Girl, what? Talk. Let's figure this out. I was like, why are you so afraid? What's going to happen? We don't have to talk to nobody if we don't want to. We can talk to people if we want to. It's a beautiful island. We're going to go out for dinner. It's going to be good. And I looked at myself. I made eye contact in the mirror, which can be such a powerful thing and triggering thing, depending where you're at in your life, depending where you're at in your journey with self-love. But I just started crying because I realized very quickly that I have been so unkind to myself, not even intentionally. I think I guess I've been so frustrated with being in a rut for a while now that I'm like, okay, why aren't we through this? Like, we have the therapy, we have the tools, we know what we need to do. Why aren't we over this? And I'm getting frustrated with myself for not being over it. And I'm like, girl, and I gave myself a hug. It was a very cute moment. I'm not sure if you've ever given yourself a hug. If you haven't, and you're not driving right now, I would urge you to do it. It's actually it may feel weird. I get a lot of secondhand embarrassment for no fucking reason. I'll be embarrassed by fucking anything. What other people doing, what I be doing. Like, girl, chill. Like, no one cares that much. Give yourself a fucking hug. But so I urge you to do it, but it can be a very emotional thing, especially because the average person needs 8 hugs a day. I'm not average. I need about 88 hugs a day for sure. I'm getting 0. So to hug myself once was a lot. And I just cried. I'm like, you need to be nicer to yourself. Like, you're healing still. You haven't mastered healing because we've come all this way. You still have a long ways to go. And it's just an ever-changing journey of self-love and self-acceptance and regulating yourself and healing yourself. I think sometimes I feel like I've come so far, which I have, that I'm like, okay, I'm done. I've fought the fight. I've won. We're here. But it's not over. And there's always things happening that you need to heal from. And there's always pieces and parts of your life that is changing and evolving that you need to check up on yourself with. And you need to see how you're feeling and validate how you're feeling. And honestly, just know you're not alone in it. I feel like season 2, I feel like it has a different edge to it. My season 1, I feel like I was all the vulnerable and authentic, but this season I'm really wanting to tap into these episodes, not even having a goal in mind, just talking about how I'm feeling and talking about what I'm going through and just keeping it 100 with you guys. And, I think for a long time I've been really good at explaining what I'm going through after I've gone through it. I feel like I've always been very good at dissecting it afterwards and being comfortable speaking about it because I've overcome it. But what I struggle to do sometimes is actually dive into the emotion and the experience of what I'm going through at that time, because it feels more vulnerable because I haven't navigated this yet. And I don't know how tomorrow is going to be. And I don't know what, it's going to feel like in a couple weeks from now. And I think that's a lot scarier than saying, hey, I went through this crazy traumatic relationship. Here's how I dealt with it. Here's how I, offer my advice to anyone else. Best of luck. Love you all. But to actually be like, guys, I'm in agony right now. I'm really going through it. It's a different level of vulnerability, but it's one that I feel you guys have responded so well to. The last couple episodes that I've dropped, they've been very deeply emotional and they've been on a whim and they've been on the fly. And I've just kind of been like, all right, let's fucking get into this. Let's go. And I really think that is going to be the energy of season 2. And that makes me really excited. And that makes me really excited because one, I think that's a whole new level of authenticity. And I think that's more what people need to see as well, is not just like, okay, you came, you saw, you conquered, like you're in the fucking trenches, and like to feel seen by someone else in the trenches, you know, someone who's listening to this, who's like, oh God, girl, like I literally feel the exact same way. Thank you for speaking my language, versus being out of it and, you know, walking you through it. I think that that's a very powerful thing. And the other element of it that's so cool to me is that I'm recognizing growth in myself with the podcast. I remember before I dropped the podcast, I was like, I don't even know, like, if I'm ready. Like, this is what I do before I drop anything new, guys. I have a fucking panic attack. I throw a fit about it, usually the day before launch day. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm not going. I can't do it. No. And then my friends are like, for the love of God, let's pull it together. You've got good things to say. And I remember one of my friends at the time were like, people want to see you evolve. Start when you're not ready, because they want to say, you know what, I knew her when she just started and she just barely knew how to work technology. I mean, I still don't know how to fucking work technology, but I knew less then. And they're like, they want to see the journey. They want to see the transition of you evolving and growing into, you know, what this is going to be. And I was like, that's such a powerful piece of advice. And so I started, and I didn't feel ready. No, nobody ever feels ready. You're reminded to start whatever you want to start. Just do it, babes. You're never going to feel ready. Like, you just don't feel ready. If you feel ready, I'd like to contact you. And like, I want to know what that feels like. And like, maybe you're a superhuman. Cause like, I don't think people ever feel ready. Cause I think imposter syndrome is real at any level of success, in any type of personality. We all doubt ourselves. So I didn't feel ready, and I just started it. So it is cool to evolve it and feel the change is happening, cause it's like you, but also like a separate entity of you, like something that you've birthed. It's very interesting. It's a strange feeling. It's a strange thing to explain. It almost feels like your child or something. All that to say, it's a very beautiful feeling to have created two companies that just are representations of me and authenticity and where I'm at in my life. It's something cool to look back on too. Like the podcast, how cool will that be to one day maybe show my kids if I have them, or just reflect back on myself and be like, oh my God, you little cutie pie. Look at where you started. Look at where you're at now. Like, it's just cool. It's like a verbal diary. I just think that's beautiful. So this was my very first episode that I've recorded on this tiny little miniature mic. If you don't know the miniature mic that I'm talking about, you need to follow me on Instagram, Alyssa Bette, ALYSSABETTE, and see the little vlogs I've been posting on my trips and get a glimpse of this tiny little microphone, because she's cute and she's small, but she's mighty. So it feels cool. And I'm just recording on voice notes on iPhone, like very simple. And I'm liking this a lot. And I feel like that's all I've got to say right now. And I'm actually very excited to touch back in with you guys in 2 weeks to see where I'm at and give you guys an honest update and see if I'm doing better, if I'm doing worse. Hopefully not, but we're going to keep it real regardless. And I think that'll just be something very beautiful to look back on. But yeah, so today I'm going to spend my last day in Kuta. I've actually been here longer than expected. I was planning on staying, I think 2 nights was my original plan in Kuta. And then I ended up just loving it here and having the best time. And then I made a friend from England, and she's lovely. We've been hanging out lots. And then I got violently ill. For those that don't know, those that aren't following me on social media. Woo! That was wild. I had Bali belly, and it was just an unbelievable fucked up experience that I wouldn't wish on anyone in my whole entire life. I was violently ill for like 8 hours straight with like minutes of rest in between. Like, it was really intense. I had to have a doctor come give me a couple IV drips. It was just a whole fucked up thing, but I'm feeling better today. It's been a couple days. I've just been resting. My neck is really sore. My body's really sore. I've just been going through it. So as a result of that, I've stayed at this place longer just because I just need to rest before I can travel more. So today we're going to do a little bit more exploring and go to the beach, and I'm very excited. And then tomorrow I'm going to be heading off to Ubud, So I'm excited about that. And I'm going to go visit some monkeys. I've been warned that the monkeys are wild and I need to hang on to my personal belongings and not make eye contact with them because apparently they're pretty fucking crazy. So I'm like, okay, noted. So I'm really excited to bring you guys along on the journey and let you know how it's going. But yeah, posting lots of videos and content on Instagram. If you're interested in staying in the loop, follow me on my personal. Please feel free to DM me any questions you have from any episodes I drop ever. I'm an open book. If I see your messages, I will happily always respond to them. And yeah, I am grateful to be here. And I'm grateful to see why it is I felt called to come back to Asia, because there's a reason. I know there is. And maybe the reason is that I'm supposed to be in discomfort to identify the parts of me that are not healed yet. And maybe this is going to be an uncomfortable trip as a whole. Maybe it's going to be uncomfortable at the beginning and then it gets better. I'm not sure. And I guess we'll find out. So stay tuned, guys. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, honestly, for tuning into my episodes, for listening, for telling me your feedback. I love getting messages from you guys after you've listened. And I love just knowing they resonate with you. And thank you just for supporting me and my dream. It's like an unmatched feeling. And honestly, recording this episode has made me feel a million times better than I did before. So maybe I just need to record more episodes whenever I'm feeling low and just let it out. It's such a great cathartic way to express your emotions in a healthy way. So thanks for being on the other end of that and listening and supporting me while I do it and while I'm super vulnerable. I'm sending you guys so much love and healing. And if you're going through anything like this, just know you're not alone and I've got you. And if you have any questions or need any support, you can always reach out. Until next time. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I loved having you. If you wish to support this podcast, please follow us so you never miss an episode. You can also find us on social media at Full Minded Podcast. Please visit our website at www.fullmindedpodcast.com to submit all your questions. If you wish to be a guest on this podcast, please fill out the form on our website to apply. Your continued support means the world, so thank you again for taking the time out of your day to tune into Full Minded with Alyssa Bette. Until next time, be kind to yourselves and remember that there is power in owning our imperfect and messy lives. It's all a part of the human experience, and you're not alone in it.